So it's this concept of transfer of authority, which I'm finding fascinating with AI right now. So picture this scenario. You're on ChatGPT or Claude or whatever it is you're using, and you search for something about a website, and you're asking for content. You say, like, tell me about SEO. And it goes to a website, and it pulls some information. That interpretive layer that comes in is reading off of a website. So whatever you write on that website is getting fed to the output of AI. And when ChatGPT tells me something, I tend to interpret that as with a layer of authority on top of it. Like ChatGPT said, and then the information comes out. So this session is kind of about exploring this concept of like publishing content to your website and then that idea of perceived authority when GPT ends up pulling it. So I asked it this question. This is GPT 5.5, their latest model. Thinking. So let's see what it says. I said to it, the transfer of authority. So for example, when I publish something on my website and then an LLM, large language model, picks it up and returns it back to the user via their interface, so that could be like this web browser we're using, it seems to have an authority that the AI system came up with this. And I wrote dad, which is funny. It should probably say data, when some of the time it is just repeating what I scraped from a page that the author wrote. So basically saying, if someone just writes it on a website and you regurgitate it back, I think GPT said it. It says, yes, that's a very important observation. There's a transfer of perceived authority happening. In the old model, author writes page, visitor visits the website, author is visibly attached to the author and site. So you've experienced somebody published this, probably the author, you read it, okay, the author said this. Fine. In the new model, author writes a page, the AI retrieves and summarizes the content, the user reads the answer inside the AI interface. The authority feels like it came from the AI. So I just said that this model is like the smartest model, little asterisk next to that, but it's an extremely smart model. It's brand new, I'm paying for it, we're talking to one of the finest. But even this one will read what's on the website, summarize it, and tell you back. So if my website says Nate Haskins make the best website in the world, it'll summarize that and then give you a response. Okay, so it goes on to say that's a big shift. The AI becomes the voice of delivery when the underlying insights came from the person, business, journalist, researcher, or local expert. This creates two competing realities. On one hand, it's good for users because AI can synthesize information quickly. On the other hand, it can blur the attribution. ChatGPT told me instead of Nate Haskins wrote. That matters a lot for people like you because you're in a business that values tied to judgment, voice, and trust. So now we're getting into who actually said the information. And that's kind of the trick. Is it make the content AI readable and source attributable? This means your pages should repeatedly and clearly attach the ideas to Nate Haskins. And this is getting the idea of, with semantics, now you can basically say, like, what you've just read is part of this site over here. That's in the JSON LD stuff we've talked about earlier. There's more videos for that. And in the structured data, now it's getting into the JSON LD that describes to an AI system, hey, this is who wrote this, Nate Haskins made it, this is the person, this is his name, this is the website he's coming from. So whatever thoughts you're reading, attribute them over there. And so an AI system can tell you this. It can say, hey, I just read this data. It came from Nate Haskins. So take that with a grain of salt. It wasn't from Wikipedia, So then it goes on to say the goal is to make it easy for AI to answer. According to Nate Haskins of Haskins IT, or Haskins IT described this, that's the difference between raw training context material and being cited by source. Goes on to talk about the strength of videos and keeping your videos as an authorship visible. Even if AI summarizes the content, the source artifact has your face, your voice, and your presence on it, and your business identity attached to it. So it still has that source of truthiness there. That's really like the originating layer of the information. So it goes on to say it's weird. The weird internet feature, the weird internet feature is not just AI finds your content. It's AI finds your content, interprets it, and hopefully carries your name forward with the answer. So that's kind of where we're at now with, this is another little takeaway for SEO in the post-AI era, is that you want to have your attribution set up if you want credit for what you're saying. That can be done where it showed over here with JSON LD. You could write it in the page as static text with some kind of credit that associates you to that if you want credit for what you're saying. So this is basically saying, on one hand, AI will parrot what you write on your website. On the other hand, it may also then say this was just written by that website there. So, interesting distinction. Stay sharp out there when you're reading this stuff from your LLMs. Know where your sources are coming from. Most of these LLMs will tell the sources too, so I say that's the twofold takeaway of this: is read the sources if you care to verify the information further, and then if you're building the content, make sure your SEO is at least presenting this type of information to make it structured, so that when an LLM system does come in and read your information, at least it's pointing back and you're getting credit for the information that's on those pages, whereas a traditional post or pre-AI website may not have these kind of considerations as obvious. It'll still scrape some of the legacy information on there, but when you format the information in this one's called JSON LD, when you format in this format, it just makes it more native and easy for these AIs to figure out what the heck is going on with this information. So that's the trick. AI authority is very interesting and mixed up. So I think the takeaway is write your content, publish your content now, because these AIs are eating it now, they're training on it now, and this is the beginning of establishing that base of information. And then the second part of it is get your attributions up, so make sure your website is at least telling all these LLMs who you are, where it's coming from, so you can build some authority there. Hope that helps.